Here's another multimeter. And it's a Fluke. It's an old one. This is the 8022A. And I love these that have the little side push buttons. You know, after I got out of college in the late 70s, early 80s, I seem to remember using these things, and kind of always wanted one. I was using them at work, and of course I could never afford to buy one. These things are pretty expensive, probably equivalent of about $500 today. So I picked this one up on eBay for 25 bucks. I said, oh, great. And it doesn't look like it's working though. I've got it hooked up to a 10-volt source, and I'm getting 0 volts here, even on the different settings. Not seeing anything on this. Also, the resistance measurements don't seem to be working. But if I check on the current side, it's reading 118 milliamps, which, if I put this on current, that's about what power supply is saying. So that's over range, 118 on these two settings. So it looks like the current and the common make a good connection, and the ADD converter and most of the other circuitry inside is working. It's just maybe there's a bad connection or a bad input resistor or something on the volt and the resistance plug. So I've already got the screws out, so I'll pull it apart and see what she looks like. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to point this out, but down here, this resistor, that one, possibly that one, are absolutely smoked. You can kind of see a bit of the blast right there. It came out of the bottom of that resistor. So that's probably some of the input protection resistors. So this may have seen overvoltage or something at one point in time. So it looks like those resistors did their job and blew out instead of smoking the internals of the meter. So I'm going to have to go ahead and pull this apart and check the value of those and see if I can pick up some replacements. That looks like what's wrong with the resistance input though. So of course on eBay this is advertised as working, and yeah, it does turn on. But just because you can get a display in the meter doesn't mean it's actually working. So let me see what I can do to get this working. It's always kind of fun to get something that has a little bit of a challenge. That's what's fun about doing this type of work. You always want to get something that's always working perfectly, even though it's advertised as working good. Alright, upon further inspection, that one, what is that, a 10K, 100K resistor, that big carbon comp one right there, seems to be okay. That's measuring in spec. But those red ones back there that are looking kind of toasty, I'm getting a reading off some of them, but it's pretty wildly. At least one of them is completely open, and the others are, I don't even know what value they're supposed to be, but I don't think they're in spec. And these two diodes here, they're shorted. So I'm thinking at one point this must have seen way too much voltage, and it popped a few of the input protection devices. So I'll go look up, I think I can still get the schematic for this. I'll see what those resistors are and those diodes, see what spec they are, see if I can get some new ones. That's next up. Okay, well, cleaning up the exterior of the case, I noticed some blast damage here on the inside of the case. You can see it right there. And that's why you see on Fluke meters, especially the modern ones, they'll always have a ridge here that kind of, I guess on this it might be on the bottom part. So these kind of nest into each other. And there's some more blast damage right there. So that when bad things happen, you know, the smoke may escape, but hopefully the flames won't escape and hit your hand. So I guess what does that say? Electric service. This looks like it was used in a professional environment. Yeah, electric service department. So I think they probably broke this thing years ago, and here we go. I'm dealing with it today. I think it's repairable. We'll see. Alright, done a little bit more investigation here, and I downloaded the whole manual on this meter from the Fluke website. So these guys really support their equipment, even though this thing is, what, 40 years old. You can still download the manual from the website. And you know, just a quick side note, I don't know if any company, or very few, that'll do that. They'll support their old legacy equipment like Fluke does. And maybe that's why Flukes are expensive. You know, maybe with the exception of Macintosh, you know, they support their old stuff. But anyway, this is pretty cool. And what I found out is, you know, that one resistor there that's 100K, it measures good. And I saw the little black mark on it, and I said, oh, I wonder if that got hot. But then I was looking on the schematic and noticing there seems to be something missing here. And that's a resistor, this one right here in the schematic, that little 1K resistor. And that is R2 right there, which is a wire wound 1K 2-watt resistor. So I think probably what happened is the original owners, when they blew up this meter, they decided to take it apart and saw this blown resistor and pulled that out. Maybe put a new one in and it still didn't fix it, so they pulled it back off. Or once they pulled it out, they noticed all this other damage with these little red things down here, which I originally thought were just resistors. It turns out those are varistors, which are they normally just look like a open circuit, very high resistance, until they see a voltage, big voltage across them. These are all 430 volt varistors. So they are right here in the schematic. So you see there's the input jack on the voltage range, and you got 3 of those in series, so that's somewhere north of 1,000 volts in order to activate those. Then it comes down to this little diode clamp right here, and then out that jack. So remarkably, those diodes seem to be good. Maybe these varistors blowing up protected the diodes. But these 3 right here in a row are all smoked. This one over here seems to be okay. So those are kind of unusual shape. The common varistors you see today are metal oxide varistors, MOVs, and they're generally bigger than those. So I'm going to have to search around and find a modern day equivalent. But what I might do is go ahead and just pop in a 1K resistor right here, and then pull that leg on that last varistor, which will disconnect it right here, because I think these are shorted, or they're low enough resistance that, you know, from here to here you're not getting a reading, and that's why the voltage readings aren't working, or the ohms. So replacing that resistor, of course that'll help. Isolating those varistors, and we will check to see if the voltage range and the resistance works on this meter. And then if it does, I'll go ahead and research replacing those varistors and replacing this wire wound resistor. Those aren't expensive at all, less than $1. That's like a flame proof wire wound resistor. It's meant to blow like it did. So I think I'll try that as a quick test, see if this thing is still functional, and if it is, order the parts and get it all fixed up. Alright, I hacked in a little 1K ohm resistor right there and just cut off the lead to the MOV that shorts that input out, and it's on resistance range. It's reading 6.9 ohms on a 7 ohm resistor. So resistance range looks like it's working. Let me hook it up to a DC voltage source and see if that's working. I'm sure it probably will. I got about 10 volts set on the voltage source, and it's reading right at 10 volts on the inputs. So looks like that temporary repair has fixed the voltage and resistance inputs. So I will go ahead and order some parts and patch up that input protection circuit with real components, and I think this will be all fixed. Now the eBay seller did say that this was a functioning unit, so I may contact him and say, hey, it had one missing component and some blown components, and it was not functional. So we'll see what happens there. But it looks like it's fixable, and I'll get that done. Get this old meter working again. Okay, I'm just doing a quick comparison here. Got this hooked up, measuring DC volts. It's 19.7 on one, 19.9 on the other. Let's bring it up to 25, 24.6, 24.86. Now, I haven't touched the calibration on this at all, but still pretty darn good. Probably hasn't been calibrated since it left the factory. 4.9, let me get down the range. 4.95, 4.99. So it looks like it's reading a little bit low. I may try tweaking the DC adjust on that, see if I can get it to match the Fluke 27. But it's working pretty darn good. Maybe I should wait until I haven't put the well, I'll tweak with it a little bit. I haven't put the replacement parts in there yet, so the varistors are still disconnected, and don't think that would really matter. But I might tweak with this just a little bit to see if I can get it close. See how it tracks. Alright, I just tweaked with the DC adjust right there and got it really close. 15.02, 15.03. See, it dropped down to 10 approximately. 9.97, 9.98. Close enough for now. There's around 5 volts. 4.98, 4.98. So pretty darn accurate for a meter from the late 70s. So I won't do any more tweaking with it until I get all the input parts replaced, all the input protection, yeah, this one resistor and those varistors and stuff in there. Well, it looks like this is going to be a good one. Okay, I got those pretty darn close for now. Within one least significant digit of each other. So, oops, take it up to 25 volts, roughly. Oops, this one's out of range. So if I go up to range, 24.4, 24.47. So I think I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to go ahead and order parts, and I'm sure there'll be no issues other than replacing those MOVs down there. I've not been able to find that basic part, and those little small axials that I don't think those are available anymore. So I'll probably try to find an appropriately sized disc-shaped MOV that I can squeeze in there, and then get the wire wound resistor for there. So I'm actually pretty amazed at this old thing, and I really bought this meter as just kind of a nostalgic thing. But it was very nice to be able to take it apart, even though I didn't expect to have to do repairs. It was interesting to see that, you see there's the blast right there, and you can actually feel a little bit of where the plastic was melted away, but it did not go outside of the meter. So whoever hooked this up to whatever it was, a couple thousand volts, and blew it up, they did not get injured, which is what Fluke is known for the safety of their meters and accuracy and everything else. Even in this old one from the 70s, it's pretty darn accurate. So there's a little blast right there, and then right here, I've already cleaned these up, but you can see the remnants of where the blast occurred. And based on the spot where that happened, I think it was that wire wound resistor that was there and has been since removed. I think that really smoked, and but it did its job. It protected the person holding the meter, it protected the rest of the meter. It's still functioning perfectly once the part's replaced. So even back in the 70s, Fluke had this input protection circuitry down, and yeah, if you want one of these meters, you know, I paid $25 for this one, and it was supposed to be in working order. I still haven't emailed the seller back, but I will let him know that I got it fixed, but it does need some parts. See what he wants to do. But yeah, these are great little meters. It's not auto ranging, of course, but hey, it's accurate, very safe, works well, and kind of a cool retro look. So I'll go ahead and go upstairs and get some parts ordered and end this video for now. So thanks very much for watching. And as a repair on my brand new 40-year-old Fluke 8022A. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next video.